in a day in court in America.
Right.
Right?
Yes.
Because the American system is no president is bigger than the law. Neither no vagrant is bigger than the law. So from the president or the vagrant have to abide by the law. And there is no letting go of anyone who transgress against the law. But unfortunately, in some other countries, it is far different. A lot of people have committed a lot of atrocities, but they never had their day in court. Some people put up system where they put a gatekeeper that only certain cases could go through. And that is one of the reasons why some people have not suffered the same fate as Bill Cosby. Mr. Joking?
Well said, sir.
Huh?
Well said.
So, there's a vast difference. So some people could call Bill Cosby a nasty man, in which I totally agree. Right? Use his position to demoralize women. And we don't know if he used it to demoralize men too, but men was afraid to speak out as the woman. Because he got some fish eaters, if they can't get rabbit, they eat jacks.
Well, you Slater's vicious today. Boy.
I know him deserve.
Do you understand? I got some people, if they can't skin a old wife, they go skin a pig fish or a brown black cod.
Right.
Them have fish with skin to get the meat. So in these situations, definitely,
Right.
it is sad that some people could have their day in court. Good, you know. But the 1 or 2 or 10 evil he do
Right.
far exceed the 100 good, you know.
Right.
Because you could do a little 100 good. But then one of the wrong you have done, you have killed 20,000 people. Or you may have gone strap on the things like the Taliban's or the kind of bomb them they just put on and go. And one of them killed 500 people in one bomb blast.
Right.
That is dangerous, more dangerous than you do 100 small good. So that is the point.
Right.
It is clear.
Okay.
But a day is coming. And I know Mr. Joking say he don't believe in a life after death. But I do. But a day is coming when all the hidden things that man have done will be brought into light. So I just saying that for today. And then asking, what about Bing Joseph?
I spoke to Bing yesterday, right? And he's as you know, he has some medical issues. He does tell me, however, that he hopes to be back on Monday. He's trying to get clearance from the doctor first. He's following the doctor's advice.
Yeah.
So he's hoping he'll be back by Monday.
Yeah.
So.
And I just hope the entire country right now in plain mask, in three-piece suit, or long dress because it seems that everybody have a mask up.
Oh, gosh. All right, Slider.
So blessings on you all.
Take it easy, buddy.
All right, buddy, take care, take care.
Okay then.
These older folks are good, you know. They got some good things.
Slider, how's it going on, man?
That was a good one. That was a
No,
good
but
one.
that, you were you were speaking before Slider called in, man.
No, I'm talking about the need, I think,
Yeah.
for governments, right, to do more.
Yes.
Particularly when I think we have the resources. This is not a time to say we are short on resources.
Right.
I've argued before that we can print money, we can issue government bonds.
Right.
But we need to, the people in this country need more support, particularly those who have been hit.
Right.
And the entire economy has been badly hit, and the business sector are badly damaged.
Oh, it's
You know,
it's
I
terrible.
Mean, listen to most radio stations, listen to the ads. You know, you know what's going on, guys.
Ads?
Watch
What
TV.
ads?
What ads? Exactly. Correct. You know.
Whoa, lost that one. Hi, you're live on Boom. Hello. Let's drop that one.
They didn't want you.
I didn't want to be
They
on
didn't want
Boom.
to talk to
I
you.
guess
They
so.
didn't want to hear your voice.
I don't think that they do, you know.
I bet you if it was Danny answering, they would have
I think so.
answered.
Good morning. Hello. Hi, good morning.
Good morning, my brother. You hearing me?
Good morning.
Greetings, Mr. Joakim. How are
Good
you?
morning, Mr. Hamilton. I'm
Mr.
well,
Joakim,
thank
you know I'm not going to allow anybody to... Let me say this, People have a right to be critical. Let me say this, I have been listening... I've been on radio for 12 years. And there's really nobody who have been able to challenge both of the political parties like yourself. I mean, I just spoke to a guy concerning Joke. He said, oh, Bill Joakim has some kind of allegiance to that. Let me say this, I'm very happy that you're willing to challenge people, because not challenge them in a very destructive way, but in a very realistic way, because I could tell you the audience listen and they turn off the radio. This radio station is one of the better radio stations, and I'm saying there are times when people literally allow people to get away with deception. And I'm saying, hey, God bless you for keeping it real. You're not perfect. I'm not perfect either. But I want to thank you for your style, which I believe that a lot of people would like also. It's not that you're not perfect, but let me just say one thing I want you to help me with quickly, and my brother, and the radio station and the country, is that we have a very serious situation whereby we have seen what is happening in America with police.
Yes.
We are seeing Donald Trump come forward, and we are seeing wonderful politicians coming forward to say, when you look, for example, for the Prime Minister of Canada, saying there's a real racist problem.
Right, yes.
And I'm only saying, hey, my brother, this is Mr. Hamilton. Walk along with Gonzab. I left my wife home. If you had 100 meetings, I went 99. I went to see Comrade. I gave him support. What we have in here in this country is unacceptable, not just for the ordinary people, but also for females. And I'm not saying, hey, bring in any kind of slanderous thing against the radio station. But I've listened to much cries. And I'm saying, all I want for St. Vincent investigation, I want to know if we're actually going down the route to discriminate against people, black people. It must stop. If it is not true, then obviously we go on. But I'm saying there's a serious problem here now that involves the police. It involves a very, very draconian action against the citizens, where they're actually stopping vans and putting citizens out on every evening, when there is really no legal authority under the police. Even when you call the highest officer, they acknowledge it, but yet they're still doing it. It must stop. If you want to quarantine a van or quarantine a supermarket or want to quarantine any person, go to Parliament, because there is a constitution. Mr. Joakim, there is and let me say this, you're the only person in this country here talking constitution. God bless you, Mr. Joakim. Stop these politicians, ULP and NDP politicians, violating our laws.
Mr. Hamilton.
I cannot even get it on nice radio just to say, Dr. Friday, all the cock, you're all not doing right. It is against the Constitution. Let us follow our Constitution, and that is why people in America are rising up. Joakim, thank you very much
Thank
for
you,
supporting you.
Mr. Hamilton, let me ask you a question while you're here, right?
Go ahead.
We just heard, I think somebody just announced that we're having a protest
Oh,
to
Lord
support
help
the
me,
Black
Jesus.
Lives Matter in the United States. Will we at that protest also
Yes, my brother.
talk about what our police force are doing in St. Vincent and the
If
Grenadines
Mr.
and
Gonzalez
the
is
violence
willing
that they
to
inflict
speak
upon our own people?
about our Constitution and about our police, I will be there. But if he's going to do it just so that we muzzle away the reality, let me tell you something. I got arrested. I saw recently a young man was roughed up because he wasn't wearing a helmet, and they chuck him off, and they took it, they searched him up because they see even his private parts. He didn't do anything wrong. We have seen so much things happening with our police, and
Yep,
nobody could
correct.
get to. I'm saying our citizens just, what are we going to do? Take the law? No, I'm not
So
going
my
to
argument is
take
we
the law
should-
in our
we should
hands.
protest
But it is time that all of them in this country, both NDP politicians and ULP politicians, stop this kind of terror on our citizens. And I'm saying you're the only man I think in this, on the airwaves right now, I'm hearing in any significant way, that have this authority to speak for poor people. Speak for poor people. It must stop in America. It must stop all over the world. I don't want nobody to come here and ask me no job, you know. I don't, they could call me crazy, but I'm saying it is time this kind of terror from our police stop.
Yep.
God bless everybody. Have yourself a wonderful day.
Take it easy.
Thank you. But that's a valid point. Huh? We need to talk about what our police do to our citizens before we worry about what, to me, that should be our major concern, as opposed to what is happening in the United States. Our police here have too often been involved and accused of inflicting violence upon people. We saw 3 policemen get reinstated in this country into their jobs after they had been convicted of assaulting
Right.
a citizen in this country. When do we start talking about right and wrong and saying that our police need to do much better? So let's stop worrying first of all about Black Lives Matter in the United States and worry about All Lives Matter in St. Vincent and the Grenadines and worry about our citizens not being subject to abuse by the police, and many of us live in fear of the police. And I'm telling you that now, right? Many of us live in fear of the police. And that should not be the case, because it's too often in this country. And look at the lawyers. Ask the lawyers. Ask Grant Connell.
Yeah.
What happens to some of his clients sometimes.
Right.
Right? This is wrong. But we're not protesting that, but we're going to go up and protest Black Lives Matter in the United States. But Black lives maybe don't matter as much in St. Vincent.
So you think that there's a
I'm
culture?
saying there is a culture in our police force of physical violence towards our citizens. Right, correct. I'm saying that very clearly. Just as there is in the United States towards black people, it exists in this country too, and we need to deal with that. We have seen the violence inflicted on people regularly, far too regularly, and police are not disciplined. Say what you like about the United States. Those 4 policemen got fired instantly.
Right.
Right? That's a good thing. We don't do that here. When our police abuse people, we don't do that. Police don't get... How often have they gone to court? Very rarely for abusing people. You see people go into... It's not a coincidence that people come out complaining. You've seen the pictures on the front pages of these people. Right. They come out being beat up by the police. The police don't have a right to beat up citizens. Last time I checked under our Constitution, Mr. Hamilton would say, and the laws of this country, the police do not have a right to hit people.
Okay, so is it a systematic?
I think it's a systemic problem in the training of our police force, because why does it happen so often? Look in the United States. How often are they killing black people? Far too often, right?
Of course.
So it's a systemic issue, correct?
Yes.
How often are citizens, when they get arrested here, being beaten? How often do you see it in the papers and lawyers talk about it?
I was just going to ask,
we see it far too often too, correct? So where's the correlation?
What is the ratio there, right?
Right. So I mean, I would, I mean, that is not acceptable either.
No,
are we going to wait till somebody gets killed by a police before we tell the police, you don't have the right to beat up people? You don't, you saw the way, I saw a video the other day where, the guy who was accused of killing the child.
Yes.
You saw how he was manhandled, right?
Yes.
And I understand all of us are upset, so we said, great, they should have done worse for him. They should have done whatever they had to do to him. I understand all of that. But again, this is not the way you handle a citizen. The police do not know how to subdue a man properly in this day and age.
But wasn't he? Didn't they say that he also had some mental issues?
Correct.
He was flailing about.
Correct.
But
so our police don't know how to put a handcuff on people and put it behind their back, and they don't know how to put a handcuff on people's face, on their legs to stop them moving. In that case, we need a lot more training also. So let's be honest here about what we are doing. Let's not, it's all well and good to criticize the United States and everything they're doing, but can we at least focus on what's happening in St. Vincent and the Grenadines too, please? I think that's important.
Someone says, "Good morning, guys. Dr. Friday and Major is not the problem in SVG."
Yeah, that's I mean, they haven't been elected, guys. Can we, they don't run the show here.
Morning, Stephen. I always look forward to your input to this station. Your commentary is always unbiased, logical, and an eye-opener. Continue being who you are. What is going on here?
Well, no, I think people
Did you write checks?
No, actually, what I did is I paid a lot of people to send. By the way, what kind of human being in this country has 4 different cell phones in front of him? Texting here and there and everything when they're supposed to be doing their job on the radio. I don't understand you. How many phones does one human being need?
Man. I'm not just doing my job on the
How many-
radio.
how
I'm doing
many-
my behind-the-scenes job, trying to
How
coordinate
many?
meetings, trying to
How many?
figure out what's going on with
How
Facebook.
many phones does your wife think you have?
Oh, does she think I have?
Yes.
I don't know. As much as I need.
So she doesn't know how many about all your phones.
She knows about all, yeah.
You
She
sure?
actually messages me on all. When she can't reach
All
me
of
on
them?
one, she will get me. She'll try the other.
So she doesn't know how many phones you have. I just want to be clear.
You know,
I
this
wanted
guy,
to be
like,
aware.
who's this guy?
I wanted to be aware
Listen.
of, that's all I'm simply saying. I know you're a good man, and I have no
I
doubt
am
that
not
you...
a good man. Stop
You are not a
saying
good
that.
man. You're not a good man.
You're putting pressure on me now to be a good man. I am not. Hey, I'm not. All right?
Do you cook breakfast for your
I am
wife?
just a man. When I can, yeah, definitely.
When was the last time you cooked breakfast for your
Well, I haven't seen her in months.
Oh,
huh,
really?
so
Is she up? She's up north?
she's up.
Hey, you know what I did this week? I went on
You
Friday
went to
and I
buy-
booked a
booked
flight to
ticket.
Florida.
Yeah.
For July 25th. I need a break. I need to go see my woman.
Listen,
If she's still my woman.
what is going to happen? Is there going to be quarantine periods when you go there, when
Listen,
you come here?
Listen, I tell you
How is
something.
this
Huh?
gonna
I'm
work?
telling you something. I was told yesterday by somebody who promised me that the government will announce something by the end of this week. Tomorrow is the end of this week. Huh?
Right.
We need to hear from our government. What is the process for people coming to St. Vincent and the Grenadines from July?
Right.
Flights supposed to come.
Right.
We are going to get no tourists here if they have to quarantine for 2 weeks. That's a fact of life. Just as you see what's going on in Britain,
Yeah.
the amount of abuse, airlines are threatening to sue the governments because of this stupidness too. What I call stupidness. Sorry, I know people will disagree with that. Okay, they think it's sensible. You can't shut down a country forever. We have to open. What are we going to do in August when we get a case? We're going to shut the country down again? Are we going to shut down the schools again? How long do we go on not educating our children for? How long do we go on saying, oh, we could do online schooling? No, we can't. We cannot do it. We are not yet in a position for 100% of our children or even 95% of our kids or 90 or 80% of our kids to do proper online schooling. We are not there.
But what is happening with the
But we need
starting
to
up
get
of
the
the
borders
economy?
open. People need to be able to come and go. Now, the governments have to figure out a way. I believe in Antigua, subject to correction.
Right.
I was told that in Antigua, when you land, they're going to test you.
Right.
Right? I don't have a problem with that. I think that's a good idea.
Right.
The question is, do we have the capacity to do it? Right? When somebody lands here, when a plane lands here with 150 people from
Right.
Canada,
Yeah.
how are you going to test them realistically?
Exactly.
Right? I've seen other people who have bought facial recognition software.
Yeah.
And it scans you for a temperature check very quickly. So that's seconds.
Yeah.
But if you have to, 100 people have to sit around
Yeah.
for a test before they can come in, they're going to sit in an airport for 3 hours waiting to be tested? Is
Yeah.
that reasonable? I don't know, buddy. I don't know the answers.
No, you can have that. Those touchless ones, like you said, almost like a radar gun, and you can
Yeah.
beep as they pass through. Right.
But that's just if they have it now. It doesn't
If
say
they-
you're going to
yeah.
develop it 3 days later.
That's right.
We
that's
have
right.
to understand that this virus is not going anyway. How do we live with it? Because we cannot. What we are doing currently, the lockdowns is simply not going to work. Because then, my mother, I was saying, my mother has lymphoma.
Right.
The doctors thought it was lymphoma, I think about 4 weeks ago. She couldn't get into hospital in England. Could not. Because they didn't want anybody coming into hospitals because of the COVID-19 situation.
Right.
She finally just got into hospital now, all swollen and whatever. And I saw on BBC this morning again, 60% of cancer cases can't be treated in the UK because of COVID also, right? I mean, guys, we need to accept and see the reality that people are going to die. I keep saying this and people don't like it. People are going to die. And if they don't die from COVID, they're going to die from something else. They're going to die from heart disease. They're going to die from cancer. The question is the cure, the lockdown cure, is that worse than the disease? And for some reason, we can't get people to have a logical discussion about this. All lives matter. I agree. Okay, so all lives matter. So what happens to somebody who has cancer? What happens to somebody who's heart disease, diabetes, who can't get into hospitals because we're locking down and we're afraid, so nobody's allowed into the hospitals?
But
What are we doing?
You're gonna tell me that I'm being a Sith dealing in absolutes, but you said that you grade people and their lives.
Correct, I do. On value.
On value,
Value to your society.
expectation,
Correct.
so forth.
Correct. And I maintain. My
one
17-year-old
can say-
son is more valuable.
So one can say that this is a proponent of measuring those values, because the people that are being locked out, shut out, they already have pre-existing conditions. Right. So
Right.
So
Okay.
let's dedicate what we have. To
I don't
those
have a
only-
problem if you're going to say that. You must say it straight out.
You must, yeah.
Don't lie to us and pretend that all
Right.
you care about is COVID and nothing else is happening.
Okay.
Because there's other stuff happening.
Right.
60% of cancer patients in the UK can't get into hospital, apparently, right?
Right.
This is happening.
Yeah.
They are going to die too.
Yeah.
So pick your life about which one is more valuable.
Mm-hmm.
Pick your poison, as I like to say, because they're both poisonous.
Right.
There is no easy way out of this. There's no simple way here.
Yeah.
There isn't. Right? And I keep saying, my 17-year-old son's life is far more valuable than 57-year-old Stephen Joachim's life. In my opinion. In my opinion. A young person's life is more valuable than an old person's life, in my opinion.
And therein lies
I
the
want
problem.
them to
Everyone's
live.
got opinions.
Yeah, but that's why we elect people to make decisions.
Yeah.
That's why we elect them.
Yeah.
And if we don't like it, we get rid of them, supposedly. Right? And if they're making the right decisions, you know, people get, they love me when I say things bad about the ULP on the other side, and same with vice versa. But I happen to agree. As I said before, I've said numerous times that this government has done a very good job, in my view, in handling this situation as far as I am concerned.
Right.
Right? And I'm glad that they were there at this time. Just as I'm glad that Donald Trump was president of the United States at the time of this COVID matter, because I think it would have been even worse had a Democrat been in charge.
Right.
It doesn't mean that come November that I would support Donald Trump. I think he has to go.
Yeah.
In my mind, he needs to go home.
Yeah.
He's done too much damage. But it doesn't mean I can't say
that he handled
that particular situation in a better way than others have. No, others, people will disagree. Oh, they didn't have enough testing, they weren't prepared, they weren't that. That's all correct also.
Right.
But the fanatical focus just on close down. The fanatical focus when you see CNN, the certified negative news network. When you see them, right? And all you're seeing is how many cases there are, and the virus is coming back, and it's going to be even worse.
Yeah.
Absolutely correct.
Yeah.
Agreed?
Yeah.
So let's shut down the country then. Their solution, shut down the country. Let another 30 million people be unemployed for an extended period of time. Don't let children go to school. And what are we talking about the damage being done to your society there? Let's stop pretending that the damage is on one side alone. That if we shut down, then everything will be fine because we'll get coronavirus under control. Right. We are not getting this thing under any control anytime soon from what I could see. I spoke to somebody yesterday who knows big shot people in Roche. Roche is one of the huge pharmaceutical companies in the country. And I said, what are your people telling you about vaccines and so on? And he said, they're very pessimistic about vaccines. We've had the common cold forever, there's no vaccine. But I say, but we've had the flu also, and there's a vaccine for the flu. So I want to be optimistic still.
Right.
I'm still hoping that in July we're going to hear some good things because there's a lot of testing going on.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, I hope that somebody comes up with some sort of medical treatment that people are not dying from this thing.
Right.
And if that can happen, then hopefully we can get on with our lives. But we better start opening up our borders now and telling people now. Because right now, planes are going to come in July, they're going to be empty.
Yes.
That's a fact.
Yeah.
Because people are not coming when a place is quarantined when you have to go into quarantine for 2 weeks.
Yeah,
except if you're a Vincentian.
Plus,
certainly
with the downturn of economies all over, travel is now a luxury.
Thank you. Correct. People are not, but not that. People are making their decisions now for what they're doing on their Christmas vacations, and the next busy season. Those decisions are being made now, July and August.
Yes.
If we don't have anything up and running, if our government has not announced what they are doing, and we're keeping this 2-week quarantine period forever, then we might as well, or at least for the next couple of months, then we know what's going on here, and the economic devastation will continue unabated. It's still going to continue for a long time. That's why I'm advocating and continue to advocate. Government must give money, more money, to certain peoples and certain industries that have been devastated and impacted. Because we have real problems. And I don't see it being solved.
It's very frustrating, for businesses, and I know that in Trinidad and stuff they have started opening, like lots of the retail stores and stuff have opened. There was no real lockdown here, but I know restaurants had closed the doors for a bit, and they're opening up, and I think Chillin is open and a couple others, right? I don't know what that looks like either, because restaurant business built on tables, turn around.
Thank you. Making volume and so on.
So I don't know how that's going to look.
Yeah. A lot of businesses are going to be out of business. So in St. Vincent and the Grenadines too, as well as in the rest of the world.
If you're a business owner, if you've got a view on this, give us a holler, 4511069. Jerry, talk to me. Jerry, if you're calling, call. Let's take some vibe from Flex, do one, and come again. This is how we do it. Boom, OMG in the morning. The voice of the voiceless, Stephen Joachim. That's what they're calling you, the voice of the voiceless.
You like to tease me. It's okay. That's all right, my friend.
That's what they're saying.
You can tease me. I could take the teasing. It's all right. I like to give, so I could take too. That's all right.
That's how we do it. Keep it locked. This is how we move.
Oh yeah. How I love the summer. It's 100 degrees. You better run for cover. If you know what I mean, 'cause it's hot right now. And I'm going straight to party town. And everybody's invited. Cups up to my girls at the beach club. DJ play the girls them song. Big respect out to all of the real times. I got my white t-shirt on. Fun at the barbecue every year. And it feels so good 'cause everybody is there. Oh, I love the summer, yeah, yeah. It's 100 degrees. You better run for cover. If you know what I mean, 'cause it's hot right now. And I'm going straight to party town. And everybody's inside.
Yo, when you wind up and you climb up, me I watch you, G I watch you too. Your body just clean and curve up. Me I watch you, G I watch you too. She smell me Invictus and get nervous. Me I watch you, G I watch you too. What a day when your boyfriend find out. Him a get and me a get up. This little girl from Junction say she want 3 dumb pussy dung one. Say me's a nice little young man, but God knows she have her husband. Girl, me no care about your husband. If you go on the beach for your suntan. Plus me I watch you from how long. Me want to wake you up my function. Yup. Fat up so. Me no care if your boyfriend lock up so. Me no want hear if him them pack up so. Matter for just talk, girl. When you wind up, when you climb up.
You're requesting another operation.
We lighten up the morning, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. OMG in the morning.
The Love Zone.
The best R&B jams, period.
Hear it on Boom 1069.
The spread of the coronavirus, the government and healthcare professionals have encouraged the public practice social distancing. Social distancing is simply staying at home, avoiding crowds, and avoiding touching each other. If you must come outside to go to work or run an errand, you are encouraged to sneeze or cough within the crease of your elbow or cough within a tissue and discard immediately. Practice washing your hands regularly or the use of hand sanitizer. This message was brought to you by Boom 1069 and IKTV. Stay home, stay safe, stop the spread.
On point, dropping shade and setting the trends.
You drinking the haterade.
It's the Shade Room with Jill and DJ Shady. DJ on the Evolution Station. Boom 1069. We lighten up the morning, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. OMG in the morning. Boom Chat Friday.
Boom Chat Friday.
It's a different kind of juggle on Boom.
Everybody cups up. For the girl my God loves. If you know
you chat, we juggle.
Chat Fridays.
And you like chat?
Me no in a bankrupt. Me no day a jail dash for the handcuff. Money in our pocket, you know me tank up. 6 out here, you know we run prof.
Big up your crew, street or block.
Sending them voice notes now.
Evolution of sound, evolution of music, evolution of radio.
Them no bad like me, them no bad like me, them no bad.
Boom Chat Friday.
Go, 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 go!
1069 Boom. We lighten up the morning, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. OMG in the morning.
I'm hot.
Throwback Thursday.
When the top boy evolution.
1069 Boom, 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 boom.
Can't believe my eyes, what a beautiful surprise. Girl, you look so right, your waist and the music feeling nice. Girl, you see tonight, I wanna hold you down and take a ride. I high like a kite, your waist and the music makes me feel to walk on the music truck. Hands up till the music stop, walk up till we get enough. I wanna walk on the music truck. Girl, double up, shift your costume up and hard luck. But me not go stop till roadblock and I in and cuff. I wanna walk on the music truck. Y'all jump up if you feel to take a walk, walk, walk. Hands up, I me say walk behind the truck, jump up if you feel to take a walk. Yeah, hands up, I me say walk behind me. Yeah, make people fret. Make your girl and ask if I leave home. Well, I tell she a real close. Girl, I almost did. All inclusive fed. Yeah, tonight go her real vibes. This crowd here go be real nice. She can't find me ticket. I done by the
Yo, Danny, yo, Bing, yo, what's up, Flex? OMG in the morning, what's up next? Jill and Shady, they playing tune. Hitting from 10 to 1, throwing shades in the shade room. You keep rocking with the superstars. Ice Cold District, Galaxy, yeah, we by far. The best, oh yes, kid got on his headphone. After 4 at work, we gon' touch road. With Diego and with the minister. Leader, platinum juggling, so sinister. Tougher, laser puncher, big up Dr. King. Weapon, our shit and everything.
Good vibes, with blazing tunes. So stay in tune, cause we're bringing the boom, boom. 1069. Have you hanging with the stars? You be chilling on the moon. Now everybody say boom. Everybody say boom. 1069. Now everybody say boom. Everybody say boom. 1069.
The way you behaving when you whine like that, tell nobody to stop you. Oh Lord, I wanna go down. Let me see the waistline go wrong. Bubble to the baseline, you can't so long. Girl, you can't sit down. Don't stick now, we can't prolong. And you got the realest bumper in this town. It's the way you move it up and down, and the size and the shape is the way that you whine and the jiggle of the waist. That bumper is too real, it's dangerous. I wanna whine, but it's looking dangerous. I wanna whine, but it could mean danger. And I just want to grind on you, girl. It's too real, it's dangerous. I wanna whine, but it's looking dangerous. I wanna whine, but it could be danger. And I just want to grind on you. You was born for this. I can feel it all for this. You're walking up and I like it so. I say you was born for this. I love the way you're performing this. When you're whining,
Girl, turn on the pressure. Let the place get hot. You're so fine, yeah. Take a look in the center. Walk your waist, don't stop. You're so fine, yeah. Now you're feeling good, y'all are feeling good. I don't wanna fight this feeling, y'all I'm in the mood, and I'm ready for food, cause my appetite is rising. Shake it, roll it, turn it over, wine pan the gal, whole night. Shake it, roll it, turn it over, wine pan the gal, whole night.
Does anyone here know to speak a little Spanish? Move it, suavemente. Muévete, move it, suavemente.
The Spanish girl from Puerto Rico, first time in an English festival, singing the Spanish lingo, mashing up with carnival. All we hear she say, muévete,
Move it, suavemente.
start winding up.
Muévete, move it, suavemente.
Start winding up now.
don't care if I whine on you. I want you start whining back. When the music starts to flow, make sure your waistline intact now. Don't care if I whine on you. I want you start whining back. When the music starts to flow,
Danny, yo, Bing, yeah, what's up, Flex? OMG in the morning, what's up next? Jill and Shady, they playing tune. Hitting from 10 to 1, throwing shades in the shade room. You keep rocking with the superstars. Ice Cold District, Galaxy, yeah, we by far the best. Oh, yes, kid got on his headphone. After 4 at work, we gon' touch road with Diego and with the minister. Leader, platinum juggling, so sinister. Tougher, laser puncher, big up Dr. King. Weapon off shit and everything.
Good vibes, with blazing tunes. So stay in tune, cause we're bringing the boom. 1069. Have you hanging with the stars? You be chilling on the moon. Now everybody say boom. Everybody say boom. 1069. Now everybody say boom. Everybody say boom. 1069.
Exclusively on Boom.
I tell you, yours truly, Mario. Just call me Mario alongside the voice of the voiceless. Hey, I showed you I showed you proof positive. You have gotten the moniker of voice of the voiceless.
And what has Ben called me again? Right, okay, good. See you.
I don't know.
Interestingly, my friend, Sir James Mitchell sent me an email a little while ago. And it's an article from the Telegraph that says Mandela would not agree that Rhodes must fall, quote unquote. On July 2nd, 2003, Nelson Mandela stood in Westminster Hall to announce a symbolic moment in the closing of the historic circle. It was time, the South African statesman said, to look far beyond the horrors of the past. To that end, Mr. Mandela would join forces with a trust founded by Cecil Rhodes, the colonialist and white supremacist, in order to build a better future for disadvantaged Americans. And Mr. Mandela said, "In this, I am certain Cecil John Rhodes and I would have made common cause." Nearly 2 decades later, a statue of Rhodes adorning Oxford University's Oriel College is among dozens of monuments at risk of being torn down in the name of anti-racism. However, according to Professor Louise Richardson, the university's vice chancellor, Mr. Mandela would firmly have disagreed. He said, "Those speeches by Mandela were extraordinary in their generosity," Professor Richardson said. He said that we have to acknowledge our past but focus on the future. Hiding our history is not the route to enrichment. We have to understand our history and we have to confront our history. Asked if Mr. Mandela would have opposed the Rhodes Must Fall campaign, Professor Richardson replied, "I think he was a man of deep nuance who recognized complex problems for what they were. And I don't think he sought simplistic solutions to complex problems." And it carries on. Good point, though, huh? Good point. And that's what, you know, I am not as eloquent as that, of course. But that's the thing we were talking about, tearing down statues and whatever. I don't think we should make it as simplistic as let's just tear down the statues.
Yeah.
Let's have more of a conversation about what it means.
Yeah.
And as I've said before, I have a great deal of difficulty, I'm sure many people do, by taking out today's standards. Right? Cecil Rhodes grew a colonialist and a slave, you know, the bad apartheid founder and all of those horrible things, right? We look back here now and judge him by our standards today. And say all the terrible things he did. I'm not sure I'm ready to do that. Because I think we have to look at how people behaved in their time and how they reacted in their time. And had Cecil Rhodes been alive today, maybe he would have been a very different human being because it's a different context. Which makes me very unpopular, I suppose, right?
Well, can you afford that same logic to everyone? Hitler?
And I think you could, absolutely. But the difference is in Hitler's time, people stood up against Hitler. In Rhodes' time, very few stood up against him other than the poor black people who did not have a choice, who could not stand up because they didn't have the guns. Right? You know, I told you I saw a video the other day which I thought was very interesting. It's a white man talking about that, you know, 500 or 600 years ago, his argument is that we didn't have black people and white people. We had people. Some were from Africa, some were from Europe. They just happened to have different color skin, but they were people. And then the Roman Catholic Church decided that they were going to allocate slave rights and ownership rights over people. Because they were superior, the white man was superior because he had developed a musket, which was a gun that he could shoot people with, therefore he had power. Therefore the Roman Catholic Church said the Portuguese could have the west coast of Africa this people could have this, this other country could have this, the Spanish could own South America and go and devastate the millions of Indians, right? So, I mean, and yet we don't hold religion accountable. We don't look at the history of the Roman Catholic Church and judge them the way we are willing to judge Cecil Rhodes. Correct? We don't blame the church, but yet the church is the one who started this whole thing in terms of the enslavement of black people in particular. It was the Roman Catholic Church who started the whole thing.
Right.
Because they found it was okay to own people. The Bible can be quoted to show that it is okay to own people. You have a right to own people.
Slaves should treat their masters properly.
Correct. And 2,000 years ago when the Bible was being written by various human beings, they were merely reflecting the standards of their time. Now we want to kill them off because their standards don't reflect what our standards are today. Instead of just trying to understand it was a historical context, it was a different time. And you need to understand your history or you keep repeating it.
Right.
So we'll see.
So this could be, in your mind, like an evolution diagram where you see people advance.
But that's what we do. We advance. We move on. Right?
And that's what these
statues
statues
Gone with the Wind.
represent.
Gone with the Wind, the great movie, the best-selling movie of all time.
Frankly, my dear, I don't give it that.
Frankly, my dear, I don't give it a famous line, absolutely. The black woman in that won an Oscar. Right? They've now just banned it from Amazon or wherever, or whatever it is, or Netflix or whatever, decided to take it down so nobody could see this movie again.
Right.
I think that's horrible because there was a portrayal.
Her work.
No. Well, that's a good point, right?
Does that
she was
invalidate
recognized.
her contributions?
No, it so happened that when even though she was being recognized as a fabulous actress, she couldn't sit in the row with the white people.
And
she had to sit in a different room and come in the same entrance and all of that. Huh?
Yes.
So we're not trying to sanctify or glorify anything here, but I'm not sure what it accomplishes by banning a movie that showed how black people were being treated at that time.
Right.
You're not saying it's right. You're not condoning it. You're saying this is a fact of how things were. We can't hide facts. It's a slice of what life was like back then. You know, my kids now have to read books about racism. You know, I read for the first time in my life the other day a brilliant book, which everybody in the world has probably read except me at the time. God, old age, 57 now. You know, it slips my memory. Probably the most famous book in the world. One of the most famous books, not the Bible, or a work of fiction. She only ever wrote one book. It's right on the tip of my tongue. Anyway, it was dealing race. It was also about, and I hate to think anybody would want to ban that book now, because it was about white kids growing up in the southern United States.
Right.
At that time, and their father happened to be a lawyer. And the lawyer defended a black man in court. And the history and the way people behave towards black people. And the fact that you had one white dude who was willing to stand up and say, no, this isn't right. We can't treat people like this. They are people.
Yeah.
Are we going to ban that book too? Because it reflects, you know, racism is something you have to face up to. You have to you even have to look in the mirror yourself sometimes. And realize that we are all racist at heart.
You sound like Pastor. Pastor said.
But he's right.
Something to that effect.
But
I'm just paraphrasing.
But I think Pastor is right. And the reason we are racist at heart is because it's how we have been brought up.
Right.
It's the systems that we've been brought up in. And you have to recognize that you are that way inherently. Because if you don't, you can't fix it.
It's like physical attraction is the first attraction.
Thank you.
there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
You're either attracted or you're not, right? So, I mean, you have to recognize it's in us all.
Right.
And you will react a certain way in a certain situation. But if you realize what you are doing, you can counter that. You can say, no, I shouldn't be doing this. Or no, I shouldn't be feeling this way. Or I'm feeling this way only because of how I was brought up. Or only because that was indoctrinated. My grandmother had a black maid. My white grandmother. Not my black grandmother, my white one. Had a black maid. And that black maid could only sit in the back seat of the car. Right? And if you ask my grandmother if she was racist, she'd probably tell you no.
Right.
Because they didn't think of it as racism or whatever. They just thought it was a natural order of things.
That's
right.
Just it.
It's just the way it is, right? Would I condemn my grandmother for being a racist? I would feel very uncomfortable, right, doing that kind of thing or seeing it. But I wouldn't condemn her as a racist either. I would condemn her as uninformed.
Right.
as, a product of whole society, a product of whole time. And we are now products of our time.
Right.
And I keep saying things are getting better. They're not getting worse. Had George Floyd been killed
5 years ago.
let's say 30 years ago, when Rodney King beating started and all of those kinds of things, right? It wasn't that long ago that this was accepted as normal. It wasn't. So we are getting better. The fact that all these people are protest, the fact that many of the protesters, if not the majority, appear to be white people. If you look in many cities, it's a lot of white people also protesting.
A lot of older white folks too. And
yes, correct.
To your point, though, I saw someone saying, we protested this 40 years ago,
correct.
50, 60 years ago, an elderly couple, and we're still doing it.
We're still doing it today.
We can't be doing this. So it hasn't changed as much
as we would like it to. Correct.
So,
I agree.
Is it just a surface optical change?
No, I think it's again human nature change. It's about your whole societal change.
Default, not design, like we were speaking about
earlier.
Yeah,
correct. Absolutely. Yeah. It's difficult, huh?
Yeah.
It's difficult.
Well, someone just sent a note saying, this is the end time. Nation is fighting against nation, neighbor fight against neighbor, brothers and sisters fight against one another. The Bible said it. So you see the world is getting wicked. So guys, these things is expected. We all just have to pray and look to God.
It's a shame that the prayer doesn't seem to be working too well at getting rid of coronavirus. Doesn't it, huh? We need to stop praying, in my view, and start looking at what we can do to help each other. Right? There's no big God up in above who's going to suddenly come down and save us all from the wickedness of the world.
No one's coming to rescue us, is what you're
Nobody's coming to rescue us. We have to rescue ourselves. We have to get up and do for ourselves. We're not going to be done on to us. Pastor would be the first to tell you that.
Well, I was about to say, Pastor said that we can't just live and say there's a lion in the street and we're not doing anything, right?
Yeah, correct.
We have to help ourselves. And
we have to help ourselves.
Huh?
If you believe in a God, then you believe that your God endowed you with certain, as the American Constitution says, certain rights and privileges or whatever as a human being.
Right.
And therefore, in that case, then, you have to do. You can't sit around waiting for others.
Yes.
Otherwise, it's crazy.
One more comment here. Gents, let's be honest with these articles using black idols like Nelson Mandela to portray their narrative.
Yes.
Cecil Rhodes and Edward Colston were vehemently involved in the slave trade.
Correct.
And used the wealth they gained from these horrific events to fund those universities in the UK,
Every
Oxford,
Yep.
and Bristol.
Every word true.
How can we justify this when the history is clear?
Agreed, 100%. Does that mean we should shut down Oxford University and Cambridge University?
Back to the Cosby.
Thank you very much, sir. We're not defending or justifying. We're stating a fact. Every word that person, gentleman or lady, said was absolutely correct. The point is, what next? That is the point. What do we do then? Do we pretend that they didn't found university? I would prefer them to say, when you talk about Oxford, understand the history of how it was founded.
Right.
Understand that it was money used by enslaving black people, the benefits of enslaving black people that were used to develop this institution. Does it make the institution any worse? I don't think so.
I don't think so.
I don't think so at all. So it's easy to judge and condemn immediately. Huh? This guy Colson, this guy Rhodes, they did nothing good in their time? Is it that the only thing they ever did was enslave black people and make money out of it? I don't know. I don't know the history of these gentlemen well enough. I am saying that at least something good came of it, right? And there are many instances where nothing good came of it. As far as I'm aware, nothing good came out of Adolf Hitler, as far as I am aware. The founding of great universities that continue to this day to be fantastic educational institutions is a good thing. I'm not saying that that it's right for what they did. Then it's not right, and that person, every word they said is the truth. What do you do? Does that mean you destroy everything because it was founded on what some people would regard as a false base? I don't think so. I don't think so. So it is what it is.
That's very, very, very interesting, man.
Yeah.
Very interesting, because lives are continuously enriched because of these establishments.
That is correct.
Let's see who's on the line. Let's see who's on the line here. Whoa, we missed him. That's all right. I was a little too slow on the draw.
As usual.
Yeah.
As usual. That's what I'm told by many people.
What is going on?
Your wife said she felt sorry for you once, but that's why she ended up marrying you.
All right, you know what? This is. I don't like how that swung at all.
Okay, that's why you got to keep cooking her breakfast and make her feel well. Now.
Good morning, you're on Boom.
But this phone here, system like a mysterious situation this morning. How is it that every time you call, as the thing cut out, you then take up there?
Oh gosh.
Yeah, just to make a few comments. According to jokingly, I still believe it have more people was murdered from North America to Chile from a different race than Africans who came here.
You're right. The millions of Indians, millions and millions of Indians.
Could be billions too.
Yeah.
Because from North America, from Canada up there to Chile and in the Caribbean too, was populated by Indians of different tribes of Indians. Because really Kalinago, you know, or the Caribbean was a tribe from the Indians, you know. Is when some of them get mixed up with the African, they bring forth Garifuna, a kind of blended race. So what Joking was saying there was correct. But unfortunately, we hearing about the white man and the black man. But very seldom we are hearing about the remnant or the indigenous people who was here. You still have some in Guyana and all down in South America. It's still got the original people, but they are suppressed by one or the other. Either by the Europeans or the Africans.
Slider?
Yes, please.
But the reason you are not hearing about them is because they killed them all. If all the black people had been killed off in slavery, then you wouldn't be hearing much either, I guess, huh?
Yeah. But there's still a few.
Yeah.
A few.
I agree. There's a few that survived. Yeah, absolutely. But that
we-
was horrific too. But you don't hear much about it. You're right.
Yeah.
Absolutely right.
Grabbing
In which my roots really come out of.
Yep. Correct. Yep.
You understand?
Yep.
You're hearing here there were reparation
Yep.
for African slaves that brought here.
Yep.
But what about the massacre that took place in St. Vincent before the African slave trade started here? So you only want reparation for Africans and not the indigenous people.
Right. Yep.
Because those some of them extend right now into the African body, and some even mix up with the European bodies, you know.
True.
Because
True.
St. Vincent come like a booyah.
I've been in a long time, boy. That's a nice word.
Boil in, a boil up.
Yeah. True.
Dashing Tanya, yam, all things. Right?
Yes.
So, it does really hurt me sometimes when I hear they talking about reparation for African slaves. And the real people that they met here. I don't think in the negotiation they ever have one of the Kalinago, Kalinago family. So black and white want to get reparations.
Nothing for the Indians.
Nothing
for the native peoples. Yeah.
Something else.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, Slider. Thank you so much.
No, the last thing. I hear you say nothing about this. Mr. Joking.
About what?
Somebody hack into something.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. He was actually, Mario was going to ask me about that.
Yeah. I had it queued up and everything here, but no, go ahead and ask.
Go ahead, Slider. Go ahead, Slider. Go ahead.
Because it appears though people could hack into anybody's privacy these days.
Yep, correct. That's why we should all be terrified.
And sometimes I may have some hidden agenda
Yep,
in my privacy.
yep.
And when somebody hack into my thing and see them
Yep.
and expose them, I start to cry.
Slider, we don't have privacy anymore, you know.
Yeah?
The idea of privacy is gone, you know. You and I are the last generations that
always
understand
have to
privacy.
live like you're under watch from a camera or being recorded.
Yep,
That's how it is.
that's the way life is now. Absolutely, the world has changed, buddy.
It keeps people honest, though.
I disagree with you.
And it appears though I could hack into your documents,
Yep,
put in where I want there to make it look like
look, correct.
if it was you.
Yep, yep. Scary world in my view.
You understand?
Yep.
So sometimes when we accuse people
Yep.
of putting over certain things on Facebook,
Yes, correct.
it could be somebody hacking to the page
Yep.
and put them in as though it's you,
Yes, yes.
Absolutely.
so that
correct.
people could hate you.
Yep.
Because remember, it still remains in the book of Judges, chapter 16. There was a very strong man named Samson, in which the Philistine could not have conquered. But he go and he take one of the women, and they pass up plenty money, for she could capture Samson, give the Philistines. He still a go on, you know, Mr. Jokins.
Right.
People have spent a lot of money for capture others for massa.
Very true, very true.
And are gone.
Take care. All right, Slider, bye-bye.
Are listening how to hear about this thing that happened in England. Okay then.
Mario, my friend, I have to head out.
You're out?
Some of us have to go
Out
to
like shout.
work now, you know. So. But thank you for inviting me around. It was always a pleasure chatting with you.
Yes, man.
Hopefully I didn't causing any trouble for you again.
I don't think you did. I don't think you did at all, man.
So,
Not at all. And of course, the invitation is always open to you.
You have my phone number. You shout me if you need any, if you
I
want
will
me to
do.
come back, because I don't want to stir up too much trouble, you know. And then your radio station gets whatever it gets. Now.
Listen,
So-
once you stir up the trouble, Pastor comes in and just
he'll smooth it out for me.
Smooth it
Thank you,
all out.
Pastor. Pastor's a good man. He's a good man. He's a good man. He covers my trail well.
That's right. That's
Excellent.
right.
What time is he coming on?
He's coming on in about 4 or 5 minutes.
Okay, good. I'll listen to him when I get back to my office.
There you go.
Take
All right,
care.
buddy. Thanks
Everybody
a
have
lot.
a great day. Take care, buddy.
All
Flex
right.
later, buddy.
Flex, take us with some vibes. Then we're going to jump into Dr. Richards. This is how we do it. Boom 1069. OMG in the morning. The voice of the voiceless is gone. I'm still here, though.
From your wake up this morning, you saw it, yeah, 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 yeah. Na 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 na. Whoa, 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 whoa. Life is so good to me. Life is good. On Thursdays with Joy Power. From your wake up this morning, you saw it, yeah, 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 yeah. From your wake up this morning, you saw it, yeah, yeah. Watch out, Jaja. Here we love and life now. Everywhere is vibes now. Whoa, I say watch out, Jaja. Bring woman so nice now. What more could I ask for? Beside a woman in front to go down and walk up, she lays and get on and mind. She body can wind up no more. 'Cause life is short and tomorrow not sure, so I live like it's my last. Oh, drinks in me and now. Jump up and wave is the plan now. Just love and girl with the man now. Whoa, 'cause the things so sweet, yeah. Sometimes I feel like I don't wanna go home, no. 'Cause the things so sweet, yeah. Sometimes I feel like I don't wanna leave, oh no. Right now I feel I could jump down. I feel I could wind down. I want to hold on a bumper right now, make it turn bad, yeah. I feel I could jump down. I feel I could wind down. I want to hold on a bumper right now and get on bad, yeah. Sometimes I wonder, yeah, where I wanna be when this time is over. Sometimes I wonder, yeah, how life would have been if you didn't have soca.
What it is? Take a picture now. Eh, give me something I'm gonna remember now. Eh, eh, oh woman, you give me all that thanks for I say, oh woman, as a man I can want more. I must say thanks for the time that you on the road, fun on the road, fun on the road. All my friends them jump on the road, jump on the road, jump on the road. It's the sunset we under, it's no ease up, which I'm harder. In the front on the road or the corner, well this is how we roll.
And we don't care if tomorrow they call we name.
And we don't care if they complain, we do it again.
Cause we came here to light up. We came here to burn the night away. Push everything right up.
And everybody push your lights up in the air.
This is how we light up.
So push them up, push them up, push them up now. Raise them up, raise them up, raise them up now. So push them up, push them up, push them up now. Raise them up, burn it up.
Message, call, or video chat with friends.
Yo, Danny, yo, Bing, yo, what's up, Flex? OMG in the morning, what's up next? Jill and Shady, they playing tune. Hitting from 10 to 1, throwing shades in the shade room. You keep rocking with the superstars. Ice Cold District, Galaxy, yeah, we by far the best. Oh, yes, kid got on his headphone. After 4 at work, we gon' touch road with Diego and with the minister. Later, platinum juggling, so sinister. Tougher, laser puncher, big up Dr. King. Weapon our shit and everything.
Good vibes, we're blazing tunes. So stay in tune, cause we're bringing the boom. 1069. Have you hanging with the stars? You be chilling on the moon. Now everybody say boom. Everybody say boom. 1069. Now everybody say boom. Everybody say boom. 1069.
We lighten up the morning, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. OMG in the morning.
On Thursdays, we throw it back, boy.
Throwback Thursday, the biggest throwbacks all day. It's nothing but continuous urban jams. Lock it to the Evolution Station.
We talk about your jams, the old school joints, everything.
On Thursday, we throw it back.
Let's Throwback Thursdays on the Evolution Station.
This is why I'm hot. This is why I'm hot. This is why I'm hot.
Throwback Thursday.
When the top boy Evolution
1069 boom, 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 boom.
All the fans of soca, push them up and up and up, up and up, up and up. You see we hands gonna up and up and up.
Yo, Danny, yo, Bing, yo, what's up, Flex? OMG in the morning, what's up next? Jill and Shady.
Morning. If you're celebrating your birthday today, happy birthday to you. Nice to have you locked on. Nice that you could make OMG part of your morning ritual. Let's see if Dr. Richards is on the line. Good morning, Doc. How are you?
Hey, Mario, what's up?
All alone on the microphone, buddy.
Oh, everybody abandoned you? No, you weren't all alone. You had Steven this morning.
That's true.
You're either a brave man or... Anyways, let me... You know when Steven comes on every morning, that you get everything that comes with Steven.
Oh, my gosh. I'm still spinning from the wake of what
I don't think he believes in filtering too much what he says.
Well, that's good.
He has a brutal honesty, and it bothers some people sometimes. But I say if you have an issue with what he says, if what he is saying is wrong, then point out. I'm not speaking to you, by the way. I'm speaking just generally. If he says something that is wrong, then get your facts together and correct him. if he says something that is right, but he does not say it in a way that is helpful, then affirm what he's saying, but then help along what he's saying. But generally, for whatever it is worth, for sure that every time he comes on, he is really going to light up the switchboard or cause a spark and just make people think. So, and it is pushing people to think. Even when you aggravate them and annoy them, it's pushing people to think that bad a thing. I'm just asking you.
I like thinking. I like saying, I've grown accustomed to the old saying things that make you go,
Also, but also the interaction, the interplay between both of you earlier, I think it was before 8 o'clock, whenever you were talking about Bill Cosby,
that's right.
Well, Eric Williams. I was very, I thought that refreshing also that your breadth and of things, you're a deep guy too, man.
I know, I'm not just a pretty face.
Of your mind.
Doc, I'm going to have to stop saying quotable things around you because you always hold me accountable.
I'm a good listener, man. I'm a good listener. And I like listening to people who reason, because if they just scratch things, you know what I said? I've said it all along. You scratch it off the head, top of your head, it's going to be dandruff. So give me some meaty stuff that comes from deep within the store, which is why I mentioned Cornel West the other day, and he's so liberal. I don't really agree with. I don't agree with a lot of what he says because he's too liberal for my taste. But he is a deep thinker, and so even when I don't agree with him, it provokes me to, and even acts as a catalyst for me to start thinking in a different direction. So I appreciate the depth of his thought and the engagement that I can have with him. Now, let me. Those are just opening salvo. But and I deliberately this week chose to talk about racism and its application for St. Vincent. I don't want to talk about racism in the United States singularly, but bring it home here in St. Vincent. And I've been talking about individual racism, and there was a reason for that. And I obviously got some pushback because you haven't said anything about systemic racism, and I haven't said much about systemic racism, to be sure. But I was making a point. The reason why I was hunkering down for a couple of days on individual racism is the fact that we have people who are calling out both individual and systemic racism in the wake of what happened in the United States with George Floyd. And I'm like, and I hear people right here in St. Vincent, calling it out, shaming it and all of that, which I've said, you should.
Right.
But at the same time, Mario and I've said it, and I was like, understand what individual racism is, and take away the term racist, and understand what is at the core of racism. And ask, which I said what the three things were. I said this attitude and tendency to stereotype, to have certain built-in prejudices, whether it is based on where people come from or not just skin color, but you prefer people on their political affiliation or whatever. We have prejudices, and then I mentioned the discrimination that comes with that. And I said, no, those three things are at the core of, listen to me, individual racism. But they're also at the core of a lot of things that we do. And I can't speak for people, so I question myself. And I ask myself, do I stereotype? And I know the answer. Do I have prejudices? And I know the answer, Mario. Do I act in a discriminatory fashion? And I know the answer. So then I ask myself, what makes me different, therefore, to those that I would want to condemn? So I just wanted people, because the Bible does say, before you, it's not that there's not a little speck in somebody's eye, but before you pick the stuff out of somebody else's eye, deal with the stuff that's in your own eye. That's what I get. So I didn't find a pass, therefore, in being able to call out and condemn somebody's blatant racism, and at the same, which I should call out. I keep saying which I should call out, but at the same time ignore the similar tendencies in myself. Now, that is the very definition of hypocrisy.
Right.
So I pushed those buttons yesterday, and, to be honest with you, I had a lot of feedback again. And let me go ahead and say I appreciate there are some people who have been listening to my programs and all that. I never know that you were listening. So I'm so happy to know that you were listening, and I really loved it. I'd be lying if I didn't say that I love the feedback, and I'm humbled by the fact that you are listening and giving thought to what I say. I really appreciate that. Now today, so let me, as I wrap up this week, because I've been pushing individual racism, and the systemic racism I have not really at the core commented on, although I've made passing reference. By the way, I don't know that when we use the term racist and racism that enough people stop to distinguish and make the nuance between individual racism and systemic racism. The systemic racism, as the name suggests, is the system itself, that what is embedded within a system in many ways, whether it is judiciary or housing policies or how jobs are allocated, education, justice system, how criminal justice, how that is executed, the penal system. All of these things. Now, we are not talking people, we are talking embedded social institutions and social systems. And the tendency, therefore, of the construct of these social institutions to perpetrate inequalities or disparities based primarily on color, that is systemic racism. Where even when individuals are not showing racist tendencies and the individuals within the system themselves might not be racist, the system is so constructed and the system so operates that the outcome will be inequalities and disparities, let us say in a black and white society, where some are favored and some are not favored. So that's basically my grasp, on systemic racism. And that is actually what I am hoping to see dismantled, not just in the U.S., but again, let me leave the U.S. for a while and come home here. Yeah. And though we won't call it systemic racism, just take the very definition of the thing and ask yourself if we have a past here in St. Vincent. That's just a question. Just a question, Mary, because people don't like me to make statements. So, do we have systems in St. Vincent and the Grenadines? This is not political. This is not political. Because one party did not build the culture of our organizational culture, our institutional culture. One party has gone there and met policies and everything in place. Yes, they have added to it, but so this is not political. So let's ask the question and leave politics out. But do we have systemic disparities, might be a better word, here in St. Vincent? AKA, the parallel in the United States would be systemic racism, but because we don't have that race distinction, black and white here in St. Vincent, does not preclude the asking of the question, because we can discriminate on other counts, on other variables. Do we have these inequalities here in St. Vincent? In the same way in housing, there are some people for whom, and some classes, for example, for whom housing is easier to come by. Wealth, I have commented on that, by the way. Oh boy, on wealth and income. People confuse wealth and income all the time. Yeah. Your income is whether your wage, your salary was coming in on a yearly, monthly basis. So your wealth is what you have stored up, whether it is in bonds or is in land or is in other assets and other equities that you have built up. That's wealth. So there are some really wealthy people in St. Vincent, by the way, Mario, really wealthy. But then you have 80-90% of the people who are not in that class, and people scrunting for a living, people living in And I called certain places yesterday where people in St. Vincent live. So there's a system here that creates that. We have the haves and the have-not. And this is not something that is generated politically. For those of you who want to just pick low-hanging fruit and jump at political red herrings, that's a mistake. You do that. You do that, and you miss really what you should attack. I've talked. Let me zero in on three because I'll be here all day if I don't narrow myself down. The three that really bothers me in terms of systemic inequalities. I won't call it racism. If it happened elsewhere where there was black and white, we will call it racism. But because it happens here in St. Vincent, we get away from the racist label, but their inequality is just the same. So it's no different as far as I am concerned.
Right.
When you have embedded in our education system, people argue with this all day, but I got quite a number of responses yesterday pointing to the fact that people feel like within the education system that there are systemic inequalities there. Talk about, and their conversation about whose children get to go to which schools. And feel like people out there strongly feel like the playing field is not level. And the system that is in place supports this kind of inequality. Let me leave that there. The employment, even power. Let me talk about power first before I talk employment. That in terms of, and power is a rare driver in inequalities. So if you have power, you're well set. But the inequality in the distribution of power, and I would just ask some questions. Reward power, the power to reward, whether to reward with jobs or to reward with income or to reward with a piece of land or to reward, reward power. I mean, if you have reward power, you can utilize it. And reward power in the hand of a few is a rather dangerous thing, because then reward power gives you the ability to control. And you ask yourself if reward power in St. Vincent is equitably distributed. You don't have to. I don't have to tell you anything. You just ask yourself that and you answer it yourself. And if you don't like the answer, blame yourself. In information power, coercive power. Coercive power would be to basically have all the cards in your hand and to you say, do this or else. I can punish you by doing this to you. I can punish you by doing that to you. This can be stripped from you. That can be stripped from you. So you coerce people into doing things that you want. Coercive power, I don't think that's equally distributed in St. Vincent. Noise connection power. Now, Stephen brought this up this morning. Connection power, because in his, and I'm trusting that he has his facts correct. When he said that the cement plant, the cement establishment, I should say, in Calico, he said is owned
by someone that shares the same last name.
Last name. Right. So
he made that.
He made that. Yeah, he made that. So that gives a sense of, apparently it gives the appearance. It gives the appearance that if you have the right connection, then that gives you certain power and again an advantage over others. And the question you ask is therefore, does everyone have the same connection power? Is somebody with the last name Gums, or somebody with the last name Delplesh, or somebody with the last name Mitchell, or somebody with the last name Smith? Do they have the same kind of connection power? So you see, these that systemic racism, well, not racism, excuse me, inequalities. But I have to be real about it, Mario, because I am conflicted. I'll be honest. Boy, I'm bearing myself on this program. But I am honestly, y'all bear with me, please. I'm trying to be so honest. I am conflicted about inequalities and whether, and I have asked myself, to what extent do I really want an equal distribution? And I think I have to answer that. Oh gosh, the flood of comments are going to come back. But I have to answer that I am not all over the top with totally getting rid of all the inequalities, Mario. I'm surprised you didn't ask me why.
Well, I was I was just about to ask you to explain that. Like you're not totally on board with getting rid of all the inequalities.
I am more with eliminating excess and narrowing the gap rather than eliminating in Robin Hood style, using the Robin Hood paradigm, rob from the rich
and give to the poor.
Yeah. I believe in reducing the gap between the haves and the have-nots and stuff like that. But because as somebody was taught economics for probably nearly 20, I don't know how many years I taught economics, but I mean, I understand the mechanism and I understand the driver that is contained in the inequality. In a more socialist system, for example, where the market forces are held at bay, then you really have a redistribution. It's an artificial redistribution. I hope I'm not losing you all on this. It's an artificial redistribution of income, resources, and wealth. And in such a way, I find as to create a disincentive to effort. Anytime, I really hope I'm not losing you guys on this. Anytime you have that kind of inequality where there is not a wide gap between where you are and where you want to be, then there is nothing to reach towards. There is no other. There is no next level to push for. If, for example, in one of the methods that have been used to redistribute income is regressive taxation. And regressive taxation works in this kind of way that the higher your income, actually the progressive taxation, the higher your income goes progressive, the greater the percentage tax taken out of your income. And that way you can tax the rich and tax those who accumulate wealth through capital gains tax, through other forms of taxation. You tax the wealth of people, and you redistribute. You use that taxation for social services, for community projects, for community development, and for welfare, etc., etc. You use that, right? So what that happens now, it puts a cap on how wealthy you can become. And once you begin to do that, there's a disincentive, I find, for people to really drive and to utilize their acumen to get rich. And so I find that inequality is a necessary thing to give me a next level to push for.
But isn't that kind of like a carrot and stick scenario?
In what sense, Mario? Because I'm sure you get what I'm saying. Mario, if there's no next level, if there is not a next level of income, if there is not a next stage up,
then what are you striving for?
If you eliminate the gap,
Yeah.
Right. If you totally at its extreme, redistribution really totally removes the gap. It makes it makes people. It removes the upper class income class. It removes the lower income class and puts everybody middle class. Now you have no drive because you have an artificial barrier that keeps you in check every time you push to So there's nothing to put. I don't know that I like. This,
I've never, because I've always subscribed to the notion and probably stupidly so that people should have an even footing and should be, and everyone should have a proper distribution. But I've never thought about it as a motivator to get to the next step.
The inequality is a motivator, and also it rewards. It's artificial reward for people who don't drive themselves, and it is an artificial punishment. It's a real punishment for those who really drive themselves. And the angst that, for example, is in the United States right now, the angst that is created in the wealth tax and taxing the higher income earners and the upper class. The angst that is created is that they have worked hard and they have been, used their initiative to get there, and their hard work is going to be punished in order to basically accommodate those who may not have worked as hard. Now, I don't agree with that argument, but I can see the basis for that. One more thing, Mario, because again, I get into these things that I didn't intend to, and I begin to really go deep. So I'm saying that the inequalities that systemically produced, and based on racism or other things, I decry them, but at the same time, I don't want an excessive recorrection and this is not popular, but I believe in removing the excesses, reducing the gap, but don't overly punish those who are in the top level, and don't overly reward those who are in the bottom tier. One more thing, because I'm going to run out of time, but I'm hoping I'm making people think, because everybody clamoring, equality. Think about what equality means. Equality is a disincentive. I've often said it. I'll say it again. Equality is often a disincentive for growth. But then, what is the other end of the spectrum in relation to that? Meritocracy. Now, meritocracy is again quite different from the artificial inequalities where you chop off incomes at the top end and reward incomes at the bottom end. Meritocracy just say let the system run and distribute the goods, distribute the jobs, distribute the power, distribute the economic opportunities, distribute all of these on the basis of merit. On the basis of merit. But what that does, and I will end with this, what that does is that it creates it just makes the problem worse. Because if the merit is education or educational acumen and degrees and preparation, there is already a systemic disadvantage for some people there, so that some people are always going to be more educationally prepared for job. And if you reward on the basis of how prepared you are, then it's just worsening the situation. If you ignore social determinism, you ignore that some people will never get to the point where they can merit the jobs and merit the housing and merit the wealth and merit the long and the short of what I want to say this morning.
Those benchmarks. That's the problem. Who determines those benchmarks for merit?
The long and the short of what I want to say this morning, I've been trying to say all week. It is easy to get emotionally stirred because of the angst that is embedded within any discriminatory practice, racism and all of that. It's very provocative and we get emotionally stirred. And I happen to believe that these are issues that have to be well thought through, so that our emotion, and let me make that again something that we all have, that our emotion does not get in the way of our reason. So let's think this through, people, before we begin to, for example, let me show you a classic example. I heard Stephen mention it this morning. Defund. Defund the police. No, what you're saying there is that we embedded within the justice system and the system for enforcement systemic racism. So the way to approach it, especially when some police are supporting George Floyd, let's defund the police. In that, and that is a way of attacking the system, weakening the system and addressing the systemic inequality. But that is a situation in which your emotion over the issue is getting in the way of your reason. And as much as I want to, get on board with the protesters, when I say protesters in terms of their feelings, sympathizing with all of them, I know that there's a danger there on these volatile issues where our emotion can get in the way of our reason. So let's pause, think things through, and make responsible statements and responsible reaction. And then, having said all of that, I still believe that, and I said that to somebody this morning, I am really worried about those who want to change the system. Change the system is systemic. I just happen to be an old-timer who believes that the best change comes from the self. And the Bible says, examine yourself. Before we judge others and before we decry others, examine yourself. And I believe if we initiate and begin change in ourselves, then we are going to see social change and systemic change. Think about what I shared today. Have a good one.
Thanks a lot, Doc.
Let's check in with the doc and look at things with a wider lens. Pastor Richards on OMG.
Unfortunately, that's how we have to jump out. OMG in the morning flex was a blast, buddy. Steven, come shake up the thing. You had vibes always. And of course, it's Throwback Thursday. Flex, you want to sign it off before we invite Jill and they to come and do their thing? You gonna do one more before we sign off? All right, no problem. Hey, I've got to sign out though, and I'll just leave Flex to handle things because apparently Flex don't want to sign off now. All right? Hey, keep it locked on. Jill and Shady comes up next. Thanks to Pastor Richards. Jerry, we missed you. Steve, thanks for coming along and heating up the place. I'm Mario. I'm out of here. We got a whole lot of messages. Gonna try to get them read tomorrow. All right? Because we just can't do it today. Thanks for locking it on. Boom 1069 Flex, take us out. Bye.
Treat us like a slave. We work hard, we will feel good, and we're not to the race of pay. Yeah, God every day. Treat us like a slave. We work hard, we will feel good. More I run way, God know more I run way. More while man I fi work hard on a Sunday, Monday to Monday. Man I work hard, now the sun for reach somewhere. I still can't buy me a Hyundai.
Yo, Danny, yo, Bing, yo, what's up, Flex? OMG in the morning, what's up next? Jill and Shady, they playing tune. Hitting from 10 to 1, throwing shades in the shade room. You keep rocking with the superstars. Ice Cold District, Galaxy, yeah, we by far. The best, oh yes, kid got on his headphone. After 4 at work, we gon' touch road. With Diego and with the minister. The leader, platinum juggling, so sinister. Tougher, laser puncher, big up Dr. King. Weapon, shit and everything.
Good vibes, we're blazing tunes. So stay in tune, cause we're bringing the boom. 1069. Have you hanging with the stars? You'll be chilling on the moon. Now everybody say boom. Everybody say boom. 1069. Now everybody say boom. Everybody say boom. 1069.
Yo, Danny, yo, Bing, yeah, what's up, Flex? OMG in the morning, what's up next? Jill and Shady, they playing tune. Hitting from 10 to 1, throwing shades in the shade room. You keep rocking with the superstars. Ice Cold District, Galaxy, yeah, we by far. The best, oh yes, kid got on his headphone. After 4 at work, we gon' touch road. With Diego and with the minister. The leader, platinum juggling, so sinister. Tougher, laser puncher, big up Dr. King. Weapon, shit and everything.
Good vibes, we're blazing tunes. So stay in tune, cause we're bringing the boom. 1069. Have you hanging with the stars? You'll be chilling on the moon. Now everybody say boom. Everybody say boom. 1069. Now everybody say boom. Everybody say boom. 1069.